very blessed as a child. I had a very loving mother and father. My mother was my whole world when I was young. My happy life had something odd happen to it. A strange monkey wrench. When I was 10, I woke up and she was dead. She was gone. I remember not being able to process, not understanding where that wonderful love had gone. And after my mother was gone, God wasn't my friend anymore. All of this was crumbling. I started asking deeper questions after my mom died, but not just deeper, they started getting angry. Do you know how much God loves you? Do you know that he sent his son to die for you? And I didn't want to hear any of it. I didn't want to hear any of it. It's hard when you're in a vacuum, and I was in a vacuum. And when I went through my teens, I got caught up in all of the things that teens get caught up in. You know, I was a good kid on the outside, but we're all dirty on the inside. All of a sudden you wake up one day and your wife has left you. And that's another thing that happened to me. And you wake up and wow, the job I'm in, I'm not doing a great job. Or maybe you know, big things, hard things, you know, the reason why we're alive. The whole reason why we're alive, you know, to have relationships with people. You figure out, you wake up one day, it's like, who are my real friends? How come, what's going on?
I was a very rebellious kind of teenager, and I very much gravitated towards the outcasts and whatever cause I could embrace, always fighting for complete religious freedom, and that involved, you know, you couldn't be in any structured religion. I actually found myself gravitating towards Wicca, and actually when I was in graduate school, I started a pagan group. I was a people pleaser, and that was definitely my focus. I thought I could get myself involved in other people's lives and save them. That was also very self-motivated. That's a way I found fulfillment. And I think I was seeking their approval more than anything, and that got me in quite a few bad relationships, and it just kind of repeated itself. I'd keep going for these bad boy types and thinking I could make a difference in their life and fix their life, not even consciously, but of course that never worked, and I ended up getting more and more hurt, but I didn't have a lot of self-value. And one of those relationships is what led to my daughter, and that was a big awakening for me, because seeing how it was affecting her as well. And I mean, I had a lot of family struggles and lack of support there too, and just trying to fix everything on my own, really just completely relying on myself, and it wasn't working. But I think that was my biggest sin, so to speak, just full self-reliance and that pride and arrogance that I could fix everyone and myself in the process.
There was a night, we were at the Word of Life Island. I don't remember who was speaking. The gospel message was preached. It was preached powerfully, and I wanted to believe. I really wanted to. My heart sank because I knew I couldn't believe. I can't believe this. There's no proof. I wish this was true. And so they do the altar call, you know, they do the whole, you know, thing where they try to wrench your heart, where they tell you to raise your hand if you prayed the prayer, and I did pray the prayer. You know, I wanted to believe. And then, you know, they said, raise your hand if you prayed the prayer, and I kind of raised my hand a little bit. I'm like, you know, you don't want anybody to see you. I didn't feel anything. You know, God didn't come into my heart, and I felt like a fraud. And then, of course, the person, you know, says, oh, all right, everyone who raised their hand, stand up. You know, and I was and come down front, and I was like, all right, well, I'm definitely not doing that. I didn't really believe when I said it, and God God himself must have gone into my cousin who was sitting next to me. My cousin turned around, looked at me, he's like, "Hey, Jeremy, you want to go down front? Yeah, I mean, did you pray the prayer? You want to go down front?" And I felt like the most weaselly person on earth. I was like, I can't go down front. And then God did a funny thing at that moment. I was able to step outside of myself for a moment, and I looked at myself, and I realized, Jeremy, what on earth are you doing? It was beautiful and wonderful as God just pointed his index finger through my body right at my dirty heart and said, "Jeremy, the problem isn't that I haven't made myself clear to you. The problem's right in there. It's your heart, and I can clean that. All you need to do is step out in faith." And for me, that night was the night where I decided to be not ashamed of the God who I had been denying my whole life. And I walked down front, and I was all emotional. A lot of those things are emotional, but it's not about the emotion. It's about giving up. It's about letting God have control over you. It's about God allowing the God of the universe to come into you, a broken person who doesn't know what they're doing, and you're letting the true captain step to the wheel of the bow of your ship so that he can start steering. I'm married today. I have a wonderful son and a wonderful wife, and I have a holy fear of God now, because I've seen the damage that I can do when I don't follow him. And I just pray that God would be glorified, because the only good things that have ever come out of my life are the things God has done.
I was actually raised Episcopalian in a very old cathedral-style church out by Boston. I didn't find family there. I didn't find that sense of community, and just drifted away from it, and I never really understood everything. And most of the people there, I saw them as complete hypocrites. It was a hard thing when you're a teenager saying they profess something that they don't act on, and going through some really hard times in my life after my daughter's been diagnosed with septo-optic dysplasia, and there was pending possible brain surgery and a lot of disabilities she'd be facing in the future, and it's just an incredibly difficult time to be going through. And one of my best friends, actually, who's now my fiance, but at the time he just slowly introduced certain Christian theology to me, and eventually one night found myself completely at the end of my rope and not knowing what to do, and I didn't know what to do with the baby, and my job, I was going to be losing it within a few weeks because my contract was ending. Didn't know where I'd be living, how I'd make money and support my child, and her father was out of the picture, so it's just incredibly stressful all around. And one night I just hit the floor in tears and cried out to God and said, my ways aren't working. I can't do this. I can't control it. I just sacrificed my whole life just saying, just take control. I will completely follow you. And I felt incredibly calm after I did that. There was just this incredible sense of peace and love all around, and it really made a big difference. And I knew at that point everything had changed.
Started coming to Terra Nova. I've been coming for about 9 months, and it feels like home. And I listened to the sermon that Pastor Ed gave, and I agreed with it. There's really nothing more complicated than that. I've always wanted to be baptized. I always wanted to, but for one reason or another I haven't. I also think it's a wonderful witness, and also an opportunity to draw tighter to the Christian community that we that we're sharing whenever we come to church.
I was in the camp that said, I was baptized as a baby, that's good enough. But I think it's really important to consciously make that decision. I see this as a full formal dedication of my life. And I mean, I've done that in my heart already, but I think it makes, it's just an extra step. It makes it that much more real. I'm excited to celebrate this as a whole family with my friends, both outside the church and inside the church, and to just really make that statement to myself as well.
This thing of church, this fellowship that we have, this unity that we have as believers is just so wonderful. I am where I am today because of the church body. Various body parts, when I needed them, being a witness to me, being able to encourage me. When I was going through the worst things in my life, when I was depressed, when I was just in the valley of the shadow of death, there was an elbow or an arm, or I know that sounds funny, but there was some body part that was there, that was willing to help me, that no other body part of the church maybe could have done. I don't know what life's going to bring tomorrow, or next week, or the month after. I don't know what he's going to bring to this church, but I do know, and I'm so thankful that he's saved so many wonderful people here. He's loved us all, and I'm just so thankful for the body that is here. And my prayer is that God would govern us, and God would correct us when we're wrong, and God would encourage us, and we would encourage each other, and make this just the strongest community of Christians, anywhere.
Being at Terra and joining a tribe, I found so much support, and when I am going through rough times, they're always there to let me know they're praying for me, or, I got all teary-eyed again because one of them reached out to me and said that I do have family here, that they're my family, and it's just so encouraging to have that love and community, and just have others accept you where you are, and they see that sinful side of me, they see my struggles, and they still love me through it and encourage me through it.